Okay, I want to teach you how to sew on an invisible zipper. You can buy an invisible zipper foot attachment at the store, but oftentimes you don't have that available at home. So we're going to learn how to put an invisible zipper on with a regular zipper foot. So here in the instructions, if you read step 1, 2, 3, 4, you can follow the directions. The reason sometimes we're not successful because we don't want to take out the time to read the instructions. So the first thing you have to do is press the zipper. So this zipper is coiled. I'm going to pull it down. It's a little longer than what I need. And you can see this coil is twisted back. If you look back up closer here, I'm going to put it. Now you can see that it's flat because I pressed it flat. And then if you look down on this end, because it's too long, it's pulled back. That's what makes it invisible. You stitch real close to the coil teeth, and when you zip it up, it twists and pull it back, and then you can't see it. It just looks like the seam when it's zipped up, and you can't see anything but the zipper pull itself. So this is the easiest of all the zippers to sew because it's literally only 2 seams from top to bottom, and because I'm using a regular zipper foot, the other side will go from the bottom to the top. So I have my 2 seams stitched together already and prepared to go. And remember, we always sew with right sides together. So if I take my zipper and it was zipped up, I already pressed it, I don't want to zip it all the way up, and I take it, here's my pull, then I know that this is my right side, so right sides together. So I want to take this and flip it over and line it up so I can sew the 2 right sides together. And because I have this regular zipper foot with this adjustment screw on it, I can stitch as close as possible to that coil to make it invisible. If I stitch over here, it's not going to be invisible. When you flip it back, you're going to see the tightly woven thread that the coil is attached to. So it's imperative. So what I did was I took the screw and I made an adjustment so that I can stitch as close as possible to the coil. So that's what we want to do. A few stitches forward. Go ahead.
If you were using an invisible zipper foot, would you have to do the exact same thing?
No, the invisible zipper foot is set up with, you just change the needle position. You take the foot and you flip it from the one side, just like this for one side to the other. But since this isn't invisible, I can't make this needle with this screw. I can make this, if I lift this up, I can move this screw. And I can get the needle this close. And then if I put the screw right here and I put the foot down, look, it's not going to stitch that close to the coil. So I have to move the needle. I'm moving the foot. So this is going to allow this foot to get as close as possible to the coil. And that's what makes the zipper be invisible. Okay, do that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so we just need to move it. Now, you can take it, and you want to make sure that you're sewing only your 5/8 seam allowance or whatever seam allowance you're using. See how close this needle is to the coil? That's what makes this zipper invisible. If this needle was closer to this insert here, you would still see the coil, the tape rather. So I'm going to take my time. I'm using a bigger seam allowance because I fitted my skirt and I need a little extra. So I sew my seams together. Sometimes some people don't sew their seams together until later. I sew my seams together now, and I sew past my seam allowance about 1 inch, and then I back stitch. Not past my seam allowance, but where I stopped at about 1 inch. And then I'll cut the thread. Now, if you want to easily get in and out of your skirt, I recommend a 7-inch zipper, and I usually buy a zipper longer than what I need. And then you can always zigzag at the bottom and cut it off later. So you can see these are lined up correctly together, and I'm going to go and flip this, because remember my needle position is what's going to stitch close to my coil. And if you need to, I'm going to zip this up. And I want to make sure that the zipper pull is up so that when I finish stitching it, I can just pull the zipper up. If the coil is down, I can't reach it. So the zipper pull needs to be up as I continue to sew in my zipper. So,
is there an easier way to lock that in to make sure that you are where you at, because the zipper is longer than what you're using?
well, usually this zipper is for a dress. They just didn't have one in a size I want. If I bought one that's a size 7 or 9, it just wouldn't be as long as this. This is way too long for what I need. But you always want to pull up regardless to whether I had the right zipper foot or not. I need to pull up so I can pull the zipper up. What I wanted to do is lock really close together at the bottom so you cannot see it. So now I'm pulling this back over to my seam allowance. And I'm going to continue sewing this up. And if necessary, you should pin it together so you can make sure that you're keeping it in the right place. And especially if you have a seam at your waist, you want to make sure that they line up. We're trying to do professional techniques, right? Not home sewing techniques. We want all our stuff to look professional. If you make something or wear something and somebody says, oh, you made that, it's so cute, and you know, they can tell. But if somebody look at what you wore and say, that is so nice, and you say, I made it, that's totally different. Right?
Definitely.
All right. So here we have the zipper in 2 seams. All you have to do is pull up the zipper pull. Sometimes I have to give it a little help with my scissors. And that's why the pull has to be up. So if the pull is down, it's not going to zip up. But when I zip it up, look at that. It is invisible. Even the seam at the bottom, that's why I want my seam stitched together first. You can't tell where it started at unless I start pulling it apart. And then you see the top of the zipper. Flip this out. And then you just give it a press and then finish it up. So the easiest zipper is the invisible zipper. And if you like, you can go and reinforce the side seams again if you like. I like my zippers to be stitched in twice.
So what you showed is basically the exact same thing that's in the instructions.
It's the exact same thing in instructions, but instructions is using an invisible zipper foot. And if you don't have an invisible zipper foot, you can still sew your zipper on using your regular zipper foot. You just have to make the adjustment with the screw in the back so that a stitch as close as possible to the zipper coil. Now here you can go and stitch right over this. You can use a zigzag stitch or stitch right over that because it's too long. And then just cut it off. So it won't come loose because it's way too long. But then it can't unzip past there, right? Because why?
Because that's where it stops.
Because there's a seam there, it can't go past it. So you don't have to worry about it coming apart. All right, enjoy making your beautiful invisible zippers. Blessings and success in all your sewing projects.